uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yo, big shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game. A-Side official. No negotiation needed, period. You already know WCS is the first in the building. Back at it once again, man. Shout out to the chat. Mike is on deck. Salute to you. Arnold Brown on deck. We're going to chop it up and talk about some changes and innovations. You know what I'm saying? Turning the corner on evolution. Is it something that's going to stick? You know what I'm saying? Is this much needed in the sport of boxing? There's articles out there that's pretty much, you know, giving us the insight on what's the intention. You know what I'm saying? What's the projection on where they're trying to go with this $20 pay-per-view that Turkey Al-Sheikh is putting out there? Is it bad for boxing? Is it good for boxing? You know, for me, that shouldn't even be a question, because boxing has been so fragile and on a kickstand for so long. We should be happy that a foreign entity is coming in here to restructure a you know what I'm saying, something that's been in boxing for quite some time, that if you go back 3 to 4 years, they was talking about it was dead. This what they was talking about. It was cats on here talking about pay-per-view was dead, y'all. Pay-per-view was dead. It wasn't no revival. Forget the freaking, you know, the promotional defibrillators. Forget about all the freaking life support systems that's out there. They saying pay-per-view was dead. They was up here saying that without pay-per-view, boxing will soon, you know, die off too, because there will be no way for the promoters to make money to pay these fighters to bring these fights to these locations. But pay-per-view has still been, you know, straggling along, and now all of a sudden you have some information come out that Turkey Al-Sheikh is saying and doing that he will pay-per-view to be at $20 to pretty much bring back the integrity of the consumer, to say can encourage the consumers. As we identify, there is inflation. You know, consumers have to pay a much more higher price just for little common economical items, right? But when it comes to the sport of boxing, why don't we do this? Since, you know, we're charging all this money for pay-per-view, why don't we try to somehow, you know, because we live in a visual society right now. Everything is social media and all that. Why don't we just lower the pay scale of pay-per-view, and maybe that will entice the consumer to start supporting these fights and have a little bit more integrity. Because one thing we know about boxing, they ain't never been about morals. It never been about principles. Boxing, like I always say, is an extremely grimy, unethical sport. Ethics in boxing. Look, it's fighters that get fucked over all the time in the sport. There's no ethics in this game. Even when it comes to the pay scale. Yeah, there's some fighters that get paid pretty decent. But what is the majority of the the live streams that's out here when it comes to boxing. What are they talking about? The reason why this fight is not being made because of the money. The reason why this ain't being made because of the money. Oh, there's no way this fight's gonna happen because it's no way they can make the fight happen because it's not in the budget. I mean, we've heard this over and over again in recession that this became a reoccurring theme, y'all. There's always this ongoing disbelief that when it comes down to money, it's always going to shut down the best fights. So if you're looking at my thumbnail, right, you see World Combat Sports. I put out there, from a quote, the pay-per-view price in 1995 projected debut will be Joshua Dubois, which is September 21st next week. All right. I'm hoping, I'm not praying, but I'm hoping that the vision that Turkey Allen Sheik has for this $20, this $19.99, $20 pay-per-view, I hope it does have some type of change. You know what I'm saying? I hope it does encourages, you know what I'm saying, and entice the consumers to buy in and say $20 ain't that bad. But check this out though. With the pros, I have to bring in the cons. It's just like when the Zone first came out. They wanted to hit us with a low price point for the Zone subscription. And then once everybody started to pile in and unload their packs, what the Zone do? Oh, now that we have everybody here, let's do it like this. Let's jack the prices up. Yes, we're gonna do it gradually. We're gonna do it gradually, but we're gonna increase these prices. And that's what they did. I want to know how long that this $20 scale is gonna be because finessing and conditioning is extremely important at the end of the day. Is the Sheik and his people going to condition us for at least about 2, 3, 4 years? With this $20 pay-per-view, and if the where they want them to be, and they're stabilized, and they see a spike, are they gonna revert back and gradually increase it to $15 here? You know what I'm saying? $25 here. How long is this gonna stay? Because it sounds and looks good. When you see 1995, people say, yeah, I'll blow that. I can go in there and get a soda and a freaking Happy Meal and a freaking a 10-piece wing. I can blow that quick. That's not that bad. I can pay $19.95 for a fight. But I'm just curious how long it's gonna stay. But with that said, this is where I'm at with the whole change. The other day when I was live, you know how I said that Canelo is pretty much one of the last of the Mohicans when it comes to him being the primary player in this sport of making all this money. Him being able to just catch the trolley wherever he feels like and to make this money is almost coming to an end, y'all. It is. It's almost coming to an end because I always put out there, right? I'll say, well, Canelo is able to get the money. Then everybody say, oh, he's earned it. He's earned it. But other fighters are not getting paid anywhere close to what Canelo is able to request or his starting point. You know what I'm saying? His going price, his availability, his boxing FICO. You know what I'm saying? It's not a second or third fighter out there that's close to him. That is no way that should be how boxing works. Cause one fighter in Canelo is not even 0.5% of boxers that's competing in the sport. So if you take a single name like Canelo and give him all this money, but yet there's constant freaking, media disappointment and backlash being put out to the general public about what? Not having the money for other fighters to fight each other. And that's what we want to see. But we can sit back and watch Canelo fight 4 fighters that we really didn't want to see, but still get paid the grand money. As in, you got other fighters pulling out of fights. You know what I'm saying? You have, just fights that we think was gonna happen, just like Frank Martin, for instance. He pulled out, and he didn't want no fight with Shakur. He wanted to go over here and fight Tank. End up getting a tune up before that, went in there and got the same results. You know what I'm saying? Now he dipped off the face of the earth. I mean, it's plenty of fights that we want to see some big names fight each other, but it's all about money. So I'm glad that we're nearing the end of a single fighter getting money like Canelo and Floyd. All these fighters that just basically cashed in, and I'm not mad at them because the system of boxing allows them to consistently violate, you know what I'm saying, continue to pull money, continue to make those withdrawals. The structure of boxing allows that to happen. It's no freaking bank manager in boxing. It's no CFO, CPA. Where are the CPAs of boxing? Where's the CFOs of boxing? Where's all these people? Why don't we have just a single structure? We don't. So therefore, we keep on seeing the same thing with Canelo, getting paid what he's getting paid. I ain't mad at him, but he's one fighter. All the other fighters starving. And this is a changing, this is a changing, not a changing of the guard, but this a changing of the times, man. We're slowly, surely getting there. That we're about to do away with all this one fighter getting everything and all the other fighters struggling. I hope everything plays out the way it should be, because all we do is on the media, we talk about money as if we have an influence on how much is gained and how much is lost. But if you look at Elon Musk, it's a situation going on over there since he took over Twitter. Okay? Now I know it's currently X. I understand that. But reportedly, if boxing, all these boxing heads that want to talk numbers all the time, you notice they're not talking about the $24 billion loss. $24 billion loss? A platform that these cats use all the time and wait for a Benson or a Coppinger or Idick or Rafael. They wait for them to drop this shit on X, but yet they have had a decline, 24 billion loss, as they value plummeted 72% since purchase, y'all. But yet you got boxing, so-called boxing fanatics over here, that when it comes to the numbers and everybody want to be an expert, they act like boxing is a single entity like X. See, I can see if boxing was an entity like, but it's not. We don't have one person that's in charge of the. But yet these cats is talking and mad and angry about boxing when they think, oh man, so and so lost money. He said he lost enough money to buy a house in Beverly. So and so. They always talking about losses. Promoters go into the sport of boxing knowing that there's going. They understand that it's a risk. It's a monetary that every smart businessman, anybody that's, involved with the team, they totally understand there's going to be risk. So we went through a drought period in 2020 with the pandemic. Boxing was in the bubble. You know what I'm saying? Boxing was in the bubble. And they had to define alternative routes to take for us to even see the sport. And you know who took the lead on that? It wasn't even boxing. It was Dana White, the UFC. He said, I can give a damn about what's going on with this virus. I'm going to get my people somewhere where I can fight, where I can put on some fights and keep this shit going. While boxing was over here, boxing was at parade rest because they didn't want to, what do we do? What do we do? We didn't have nobody. There wasn't a president or controlling authority, governing body able to provide access, make the phone calls so boxing can once again start to thrive during the pandemic. The UFC took the lead on that. Dana White didn't give a damn. He was a rebel with a cause. So when it comes to boxing, you hear of certain individuals all the time in their dissemination of content. They always want to talk about losses. Turkey Al-Sheikh obviously has a different type of access to funds, but yet there were still individuals talking about potentially he lost money on a specific fighter. Now, granted, Crawford didn't put up the money to fight Madrimov, right? But yet, when they start talking about the culpability of money lost, they said it was Crawford's fault. But then you have to look at who's in charge. You know, Turkey Al-Sheikh and all his team over there, they're in charge of putting all the money up. They sit up there and sent all these comp cards. They didn't gain. They didn't make any money. They wanted to set the table. And that's exactly what Turkey Al-Sheikh is doing right now. He's setting the table for something different. The entrees, the entire decorum of how we've seen boxing and how we believe boxers have been eaten from is going away. I love it. I love it. Because I also said when these fights was going over on Riyadh season, what did I say? I said, nobody's talking about the freaking pay-per-view scale. All these fights over there, the arena is not even full. It's not even packed out. But people are looking at the fights and they're not even talking about pay-per-view. But time pay-per-view comes back over here to the U.S. and it's a fighter that's unpopular to the majority. Now they want to bring money back into the equation when the fighters have nothing to do with supplying the money. It's always like promoters this, promoting, then they'll try to put it on the fighter. Well, this fighter didn't do this. That fighter caused this promoter lost that. No. When it was Riyadh season, we didn't hear shit. When they came over here to LA, now all of a sudden, numbers. You have all those stars in the house, the entire building packed. But the media want to stay the same because they don't want anyone to start believing. They have their own way of pushing this agenda. They say, no, we're going to keep it going. We're going to continue to talk about money because when you talk about money, it's so many freaking veins that you can inject lies into. You know what I'm saying? Those media veins that they put out there, and they be doping people up. They be doping the listeners up with that bullshit they be talking. And the money don't have no effect on them. They're just hoping to get another view, another sub, and another super chat. But at the end of the day, what they're injecting to them veins is to dope these listeners up to believe and get brainwashed that, you know, money is a big deal when it comes to freaking pay-per-views. You know, they have some type of freaking influence when Turkey Al-Sheikh and all them come over here and put on these fights. You know what I'm saying? It has, you know, they have some type of influence. They do live streams and shit like that. But that shit is changing, bro. It's nothing they can talk about. What are they going to talk about? Oh, this fighter is not that popular. Turkey Al-Sheikh. Oh, he lost. He lost. Now they're going to start trying to pick a group of people that's you already know this out there, and they're going to start talking about how much of a failed mission to $20 is going to be. I haven't heard hardly any fighter complaining about what they was paid over there in Riyadh season, right? We haven't heard that. But then when you look at them projecting a $20 freaking pay-per-view, well, guess what? They're doing that shit in London. Well, the pay-per-views are pretty much on that scale anyway. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what the complaints are going to be, because it's not like that's the first time we've had a fight at Wembley in the UK. But the UK pay-per-views are much lower than ours anyway. So you got to check out the play. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be high numbers on this fight with Dubois and Joshua. It's going to be high numbers, y'all. And it's going to be in a setting, a usual setting, not an unusual setting, a usual setting, a familiar setting, an original setting over there in the UK with this $20 freaking pay-per-view. I'm telling you, man, it gets very janky, don't it? It gets very janky with this boxing shit. Whatever you see that's going on 2, 3 years ago, 4 decade. I mean, the positive message that I can put out there is that it seems like there's going to be some changes, some cemented changes, some changes that's going to be anchored for a long time coming. And the control factor has already made its presence known. You have all the OG promoters that's been around boxing in the U.S. boxing footprint for decades. With this guy. So who got the juice? Who has the juice now? Who has the juice, man? This man has come over here with an entire freaking plan, a spreadsheet on what changes he's making to a sport that is global now. Check this out. Boxing is a global freaking sport. But the effect is now over here just like COVID. It has made its way over here to the US of A, and you're seeing changes. You're seeing some from the outside, just like we seen that shit happen from China. It made its way over here to the US. Now we're about to see some changes from boxing make its landfall over here in the US. And there's really nobody to hold accountable, because they don't want to freaking regulate boxing. They don't want to regulate it. So since we have an open-ended freaking sport that's internal to a system that is openly ran and accessible to a lot of people, like when you have a network, me being a communication IT guy, right, back in the day, when you have a network, you have to set rules in your configurations so just not anybody can access your server. You gotta configure firewalls. You have to know what you're doing so no one can breach your data system and take down your servers. Boxing doesn't have a firewall, y'all. Everybody's server, if you want to identify a server as a promotion, do not have a firewall. You ever notice that? These promoters over here in the US, they don't have webmasters in the sport of boxing. They don't have IT managers, because in order for that to be, it would have to be some type of uniformity. One thing about data, it does have, some uniformity when it comes to IP, internet protocols. You know what I'm saying? And those internet protocols linking up with the users and being able to communicate from point A to B, sender, recipient. But when it comes to boxing, they pretty much operate off their own plan, and that's and we thought that was cool. But how much were we starving to see the best fights over time? We continue to starve all the time, not seeing the best fights. Now this seems like it's about to be some structure. Turkey Ali Sheik has the budget. Turkey Al Sheik has the budget, y'all. That is extremely, extremely important to know. Turkey Al Sheik has the juice. So all this crosstalk, you know what I'm saying? All this sidebar conversations, all this multimedia, you know what I'm saying, live stream, putting out these freaking illusions, with pay-per-view numbers and certain people coming out here talking about, okay, the pay-per-view numbers are low for this fighter, they ain't a seller, and then trying to degrade that fighter's career is about to be over. Because you sound dumb as hell to get out here and talk about a fighter's career being fucked up with a $20 pay-per-view. And look, and look, they've been talking about Anthony Joshua selling out Wembley ever since the talk was back there with Deontay Wilder. So what better place to start a $20 pay-per-view in a place where $20 pay-per-views is being sold like popcorn? That is their format. There's nothing new to this. I mean, it's nothing new to them to have a low pay-per-view over there in the UK. What better place to do it? Look, you have to understand, Joshua's already been to Wembley. When he fought Vladimir Klitschko back in the day, that was a big fight. If I can let you listen to the sound bites back there, they were saying that Joshua sold out Wembley all the time, but yet the only other fighter was him fighting Matt Legg. Nobody knew who Matt Legg was. But just because Joshua had fought in Wembley, they was pretty much giving him the superstar power. They say he's been to Wembley already. He sold it out. And that wasn't the case. Now he does have fights in Wembley. Alexander Povetkin. He didn't sell out Wembley when he fought Alexander Povetkin, even though Povetkin had a very, very solid record. You know what I'm saying? Now he's about to fight Dubois, which, in my opinion, I believe is at a perfect timing. Dubois, Joshua, Wembley, $20 pay-per-view. Man, you're gonna get nothing but positive media from this. Seriously, you're gonna get nothing but positive media from this. You know what I'm saying? And the UK, Joshua has a big name in the UK. He's been over there to Wembley, stadium several times. And for Dubois to finally, be on this stage as a world champion, even though he didn't beat a world champion in the ring for that belt, you have to understand, it's from the same sanctioning body that's stripping fighters of the belt and doing all this shuffling and everything. He's still a world champion. I'm going to give him his credit. He's a world champion. But his momentum to bring all these $20 pay-per-views for a sellout, because Wembley's selling out. Okay? Even if Eddie Hearns had to buy some tickets, whatever, it's going to say it's sold out. And with that said, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So therefore, all the news is going to come out from Eddie Hearns. Just think about this now. Who's brushing elbows with the Sheiks? Eddie Hearn. What better place to make your debut with the $20 pay-per-view than what? Wembley, UK. Anthony Joshua. Why? Because the push is behind Joshua. The push is not behind Dubois. Anthony Joshua is the face that they're trying to rebuild for one last run to get that ultimate shot at the undisputed titles. You're talking about a fighter who was two-time unified champion. So what better place to put Joshua on the same stage he was with Vladimir Klitschko? You feel me? That's exactly what is going on right now. Somebody draw the curtains. This is not just coincidental that the pay-per-view model is debuting over there in the UK, where that's absolutely their pay-per-view model. I mean, that's pretty much alone the number that they pay for over there. And then you have Joshua, who's coming off 2 wins that people believe in. Oh, he stopped Otto Wallin. He knocked out Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou was 0-1, but no one's going to care about that when he steps into Wembley next week. You know why? Because he's going in there to face a champion. He's going in there to face a champion that has momentum. Daniel Dubois doesn't have time to sit on his title. He doesn't have time to relish in the moment of beating Jarrell Miller and Filip Hrgovic. He doesn't have the time. They're putting him in there ASAP. Let me look something up right quick. Let me show you how this is working out, right? Look, okay, let me just bring this up right quick. So Joshua's last fight was March of this year, okay? He fought Francis Ngannou, and the fight lasted 2 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Not even that. But Daniel Dubois, his last fight was June of this year. March, April, May, June. You know, we talking about a trio, 3 months in between that or whatever, Filip Hrgovic. And he took some punishment in that fight, but it was an 8-rounder. But you go from June, July, August, September. That's a short turnaround for Daniel Dubois. You know what I'm saying? But just a bit longer window for Anthony Joshua. What boxing has a habit of doing is basically putting fighters in a trick bag with having them, get back in training camp and get right back in the ring. You know what I'm saying? And it don't matter if they got injuries or not. They say, you want to pay or not? You want to get paid or not? They give you a massive payday. You have to do is get in there with AJ. And fight your heart out. Do or die. That's all you have to do. So, Dubois is going back in there on a short turnaround to face Joshua, who last fight was in March. You get what I'm saying? Back to the topic. Let me get to this chat right quick. Shout out to Big Blunts and Boxing in the building. Salute to you. Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz some more. Salute. What it do? The OG in the building. I see you on deck. What's good with it? So let's talk about why do I have the Spence versus Crawford, the T-Mobile Arena, because that is one of the more recent big fights last year. That has since passed. It's been outside of a year now, right? And when you look at what the fighters was paid, it's supposed to be some happiness and joy there, right? Because that was the reason why the fight dropped out the first time. But this time, the fighters was able to get paid a nice purse, a nice healthy purse that's respectable. Not mentioning the concessions, but a nice healthy purse. All right, that's what the problem was when it dropped out in 2022. The money wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? PBC didn't want the fight to be in 2022. They wanted 23. Crawford wanted to, at least get one fight in so he wouldn't be inactive. So he fought Avanesian. They come in 23. They get paid pretty decent. Pay-per-view. This fight right here, July 29, 2023, may be one of the final fights that is considered a huge matchup, right? Canelo and Edgar Berlanga is not a huge matchup. Bivol and Beterbiev is a nice matchup, but it's not huge. It's not, the pigeons ain't out there. They ain't dropping off messages to people. Say, hey, you might want to check out this fight. No, the storks ain't in the air. You know what I'm saying? Dropping off freaking messages. But that was one of the last fights that we seen that's huge. And then you had the pay-per-view attached to it. And there's a lot of people paid for the pay-per-view. But you also had the media that's over here in the U.S. just crapping on the pay-per-view numbers. So I say to myself all the time when it comes to how somebody mentally break down something, how they process, how do they use their intellectual data? Because the mid part of your brain is from routing, mapping, and cataloging information, right? So you say to yourself, there's a blocker, there's a disability that's going on in the media that won't be able to have any effect anymore once these pay-per-views go to $20. And that is, we get a fight that we want, but then people want to shit on the numbers of the pay-per-view after, because that's the only way you can get pay-per-view numbers is after the fight, right? So that's a common theme where you have people talking about pay-per-view numbers, but yet they got a very solid, competitive, entertaining fight. That is a disability when it comes to boxing, talking about pay-per-view. Now, I hope, the antidote will be the $20. I hope we can move past this. I hope the medicine, I hope the prescription, the $20 prescription, have people more tuned in to the fight and talk about the performance of the fight. So we won't have to hear this bullshit ass language all the time where people are complaining, whining, and talking so negatively about pay-per-view numbers. You know what I'm saying? It makes you think like, damn, where's the breakdown at? What's more important, seeing the fight or talking about pay-per-view numbers? One of them you can have an attachment to, because I don't know how people can get attached to pay-per-view numbers. The reason why people become so motivated and hungry to talk about pay-per-view numbers is because they are attached to a fighter, right? They are attached to a fighter. So let's just say their fighter is Canelo. Canelo will have the little beeping sound going off in your ear. You know, when you get into a room, sometimes you hear that beep, beep. That when Canelo fights, you notice they don't really hype up the pay-per-view numbers. They just talk about how much his purse is going to be and who he's fighting and what he's going to do and all the other shit. But the other fighters, this shit is not across the board. It's not a conformity that's across the board. When it's another fighter that's less popular than Canelo, they want to bring in pay-per-view numbers. They want to act like that signifies some type of praising value of the win. And though the box rec said they have a certain win, a confirmed win on their box rec, they're gonna come over here and talk about pay-per-view numbers. And that's gonna pretty much reduce the appraising value. Now you're gonna get a prorated value. After the first week pass, you get a prorated value of all the live streams talking about pay-per-view numbers. Now we're gonna look at the fight totally different. Hey man, so and so really wasn't. But what about the combination? The combinations don't have anything to do with it. It's all about those pay-per-view numbers. But what about the knockdown that the knockdown means nothing. That's prorated. You know what I'm saying? When the numbers come back, that knockdown, the round might have been a 10-8, but we gotta think about it being a 10-9 with this freaking pay-per-view numbers. He really wasn't in there with somebody that the fans thought was a worthy opponent, a sturdy contender. I'm I'm overjoyed that if this stick for a while with the $20, I don't have to hear the bullshit of unqualified, you know what I'm saying, unqualified, non-licensed, fake voices out here trying to convince people that they are a part of some system in boxing. And they pretty much are the ones that get the phone call, and they want to run the numbers, the final numbers through them to see if everything's okay. You know, like what takes away from boxing is when it comes to money. What makes the money is the fighter, right? And what makes the fighter is the what? The performances, right? That's what makes the entire scheme of things. But to take away the conversation of the pay-per-views is nice. I love it because I feel it's frivolous at the end of the day. Because when you have unqualified voices speaking as if there are documentation out there that they can speak, and that documentation is the Constitution of the United States of America. I got the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, and all this. And goddamn, you keep fucking with me, I'm gonna goddamn enforce my Second Amendment right. That's how they talk, y'all. They'll tell you they got their freedom of speech to talk some bullshit that's not true. So if they don't like a certain fighter, yeah, the pay-per-view numbers are always going to be subpar to these individuals that's out here trying to push an agenda. It's always going to suck. But yet the pay-per-view numbers didn't have shit to do with the performance, because the performance consists of the two fighters are there because of their body of work and their resume and everything else that got them to that point. And also, when it brings in money, it's up to who they're signed to or who they're not signed to. Who's basically providing the funding? It's not the YTC. The YTC isn't providing the funding. The septic tank of boxing media is not providing the funding. So if they're not providing the funding, and they get the information on the back end of the fight once it's concluded, why should we even listen to all these individuals that talk about pay-per-view numbers? When how can pay-per-view numbers come out? Oh, so-and-so did 100,000. So-and-so did 500,000. So they did 500,000 across the board. Zeros leveled out. It's no higher value than that. Like 500,000. 233. It's nothing on top. No, just straight 500. So and so did 800,000 straight like that. 8 comma. You know, you trying to tell me no other numbers outside to the right of that value, that numeric value? It's just straight zeros. Yep, straight zeros. That's why none of this shit is accurate. And I really hope Turkey Al Sheikh's plan is able to blossom the right way. I hope it has, sustainability at the end of the day. Because to have a big fight like Spence and Crawford go for $20 pay-per-views, you have to say to yourself, if it was $20 pay-per-views, I'm wondering how they're gonna what's going to be their direction with the tickets. How are they going to modify that? How are the price points going to be modified? Is that going to raise ticket prices for those who wants to attend the fight in person? How's that going to happen? Because if Spence and Crawford pay-per-view was $20, I'm assuming there might be some type of modification to the T-Mobile Arena when it comes to the price points or whatever. I don't know. That's why I really don't like trying to play the guessing game from the outside looking in, and especially not just with limited access, but with no access to those who are actually talking boxing business. I have no access to the table talks. I have no access to the documentation, no access to raising my hand and say, hey, I think from my point of view, I think we should do it this way. I think the price point should be here, here, here. It's no table that I'm at. It's no group that I'm accosting. It's no suit that I'm wearing. That I'm going to go to a meeting where I'm going to have some type of influence to these numbers so I can come back to this media platform and talk on it and speak on it. Like, well, we was at the table talking about these freaking pay-per-views. I told Ed, I say, Ed, I don't agree with that $90 Canelo pay-per-view for Edgar Berlanga. And this is my reasoning for it. And I drop all the bullet points. I think we should drop this damn pay-per-view down because, speaking with the Turkey Alley Sheik, the $20 is affordable and it allows some of these consumers to basically look at it and say, oh, that's pretty cheap. I can do that. When they look at $89.99, they think about bills they got to pay. They think about food they don't have. You know what I'm saying? They talk about gas they have to go in the tank when this fight is over on Saturday and they have to go to work on Monday. But with $19.95, they thinking about, I can pay that. I can pay that. You know what I'm saying? That's not that bad. I can pay that. I can put about 13 pay-per-views in households and help out the boxing community. You know what I'm saying? Well, with $20 a pay-per-view, hell, I can say I can do 1,000. I can put 1,000 in there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's more affordable to the consumer. The enticement that you get just based off the visual is way better than $89.99. $89.99 immediately will have you saying, I got this bill to pay. Can I pay that? You start trying to do your itemization. Let me see. I got the bill. You start trying to really organize some shit on what you have to pay out. $19.99. You saying like, man, that ain't gonna hurt. I'll be good. I'll be good. But unfortunately, man, seeing a fight like Spence and Crawford, we're still hoping and wishing for a fight like that to happen. But I'm very curious outside of next week how the $20 pay-per-view going to be. Because if you didn't know, now you know. I put it out there. I be saying some shit, and I hear other people use it like I always say, like, I said the Canelo shit about to go down the drain. He's the last of the grandiers. He's the last of those fighters of hierarchy that's at the top of chain of command is getting all this excessive money. He's the last. That's it. It's the last. There's no way that boxing is able to keep up with what's going on out here economically. Shit is getting more and more and more expensive. And, the cost of living, inflation, all of that shit. So I'm glad I'm about to see Canelo go to the wayside, when he retires. And then maybe we'll be able to see more and more fights that we want to see that's affordable for us to buy if it's pay-per-view. With $20, you may have more pay-per-view fights consistently. But expect a huge freaking media release on this fight next week with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Because, that's just like, it's nothing new. I don't care how many of y'all put these tweets out on X, like this shit is going to be grand based off that particular boxing footprint. No, they're fighting in Wembley. This is a perfect boxing footprint to release this $20 pay-per-view scale. A perfect place, man. So all the media is going to come out. They're going to boost Joshua up. They're going to start talking about how he's such a high seller. It's time. Why you think Hearns didn't damn and sit up here and won that purse bid? Man, Hearns is focused on next week, nigga. Hey, Hearns is focused on AJ, bro. Man, he done made so much money off AJ. He's focused on AJ. He wants that freaking $100+ million fight. They're looking for AJ to come in, go in here and beat Daniel Dubois. We saw the two other bullshit fights he had with Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou. They're looking for him to go get this title so he can go back in there and face the unified champion for undisputed over $100 million plus payday, bro. You think Ennis falls within that graft? No. You think he's somewhere in the scale? No. What do you think that heavyweight, if Joshua win this belt, where's it gonna be? Riyadh. They're not gonna bring this fight. Hey, let's have this fight over here in Vegas with $20 pay-per-views. Yeah, the $20 pay-per-views sound nice, but I don't think it's gonna be a big fight over here in the US with the $20 pay-per-view yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's happening yet. Like I'm not saying it's not gonna go down. Like they go $20 pay per view over here. Okay, I'm talking about with a huge fight, like two big names that we want to see, like Javante Davis and somebody. We want to see two top tier ranked fighters, champions, or high ranked top five fight over here in the U.S. at one of the meccas, where it be Vegas or New York, for $20. That's what we want to see, shawty. Shout out to Ben on deck, man. What's good? Boots is a non-factor right now. Eddie got bigger fish to fry. Yeah, man. Eddie is talking about AJ. Listen, Wembley, Wells Fargo, Wembley, Wells Fargo, Wells Fargo, Wembley. Look, they may start with a W, goddammit, and they may have a E as a second motherfucking phonetic character. But that's where it motherfucking stops. Because look, Wembley, the third character is an M, goddammit. That M stands for what? Money. Wells Fargo may be in charge of money in people's accounts, but goddamn Wembley, when it comes to boxing, that M in Wembley stands for money, and they about to make some serious money on this fight in Wembley. This shit about to be crazy. This shit about to be crazy. They about to blow Joshua up. That's only if he wins, though. They about to blow Joshua up and send him to the stratosphere, bro. To boost him up for a potential return to whoever is going to be, the unified champion, rather. That's what they've been building up. We was talking about this when Deontay Wilder was in the picture. We was over here going over scenarios on if so-and-so beat this and that, it can possibly set up this, that, and the other. But then Tyson Fury end up losing. Wilder end up losing. But the whole time, we was talking about who they really want is Joshua. They're trying to build Joshua back up. So Dubois end up being inserted into the equation, elevated. Once the freaking IBF, did they political switcheroo, they must be goddamn dropping off a plane load of freaking shit on the IBF. Because, the changes that the IBF has made, it's nothing new. You know what I'm saying? The IBF is all about freaking intervening and shaking shit up. But in this particular case with Dubois, it sets up a worthy fight with AJ in Wembley Stadium. Who would have thought we'll see Dubois coming off his performance loss to freaking Oleksandr Usyk when they said this man quit? Who would have thought we was going to see him facing AJ in Wembley? You tell me. Yeah, 90,000, man. People talk about, I can talk about the pay scale already being low. When you talk about the atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? That the atmosphere, unlike any other, you can go back to Joshua fights when he fought big names in Wembley. The whole display of the ring walk is freaking epic. And all that put together, people are gonna be saying, damn, all that for $20. Hey man, they going to a place where the pay-per-view scale is already basic. But this is gonna take a little bit of a longer, calendar to stick in the US. We have to see who's gonna be the AJ and Daniel Dubois over here in Vegas for a $20 pay-per-view. It's not gonna have it's not gonna have any how you put it. It's not gonna gain any traction and have any type of adhesive effect over here in the U.S. And until you have a fight in New York or Vegas. I mean, I'm talking about a heavy pay-per-view, lineup on the fight card. That's $20. Then we'll start talking about it. But we still got, Edgar Berlanga and Canelo coming in at $90. In this economy, $90, that's a lot of freaking money to people. So they want to say, man, I need a reason to wait around for the main event. Fuck it. I need a reason. And what I'm seeing right now, that ain't a freaking good reason for me to stick around. That's all I'm saying. They're going to stick around because it's Canelo, of course, and then you got the Mexican versus Puerto Rican. Cool. But what happens after that? The only other time that, look, check this out. Here goes a scenario for you. Let's just say some weird, strange result happened where Canelo wins. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to ruin it for people. I know I got a lot of Puerto Rican boxing fans out there. What if Canelo wins and Crawford comes into the situation again? Turkey Al-Sheikh lets it be known that this fight is going to happen. Is that going to be a fight where they do $20 pay-per-view? If Turkey Al-Sheikh decides not to do a Crawford Canelo $20 pay-per-view, then it's a sham. It's bullshit. It's smoking motherfucking mirrors. It makes no sense at all. If you make a Crawford Canelo fight and it's here in Vegas and it's not a $20 pay-per-view like you're doing AJ and Daniel Dubois, it's bullshit. Because I'm gonna tell you, that would be a fight for the ages to do a $20 pay-per-view. We're going to see see if Crawford and Canelo comes back into the fray of being a potential future fight, and see if the news is going to break that Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to have a $20 pay-per-view, okay, with Canelo and Crawford. Because look, check this out. Canelo's going to be asking crazy amount of money. We already know that. So we're going to see if this model has anything to do with changing the scope of boxing, changing the whole freaking layout of boxing, or it was just there to hype up AJ Dubois. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. Because humans going to be humans at the end of the day. If they're not willing, if Crawford and Canelo starts to come into the freaking mic once again, and people start putting in their conversations and it starts picking up, you know what I'm saying? The current starts to draw in a little bit more. You get the white cap waves and you find out, you know what? This shit is about to go down. And then we know it's going to be a pay-per-view. It's not going to be a free fight. And then with Canelo's freaking price tag, Crawford's price tag, they better come out with $19.95. If they come out and say, for this fight, it just doesn't make boxing business sense to come out with $19.95 on this fight. But after this fight, we're going to drop it back down. No. You have one shot, goddammit, like M say. You got to seize the moment. If you're going to freaking convince the fans over here that you're making a change and you all about dropping this scale, the only fight that makes sense if it goes down like this in Vegas will be Crawford Canelo. And you put that $20. Then the general public over here in the US will believe it. If you bring that fight in with a higher price point than $19.95 for pay-per-view, all they did was politically bamboozle the freaking public once again. You freaking lied. You played the hocus pocus game. It was all about goddamn, finessing them with hope, you know what I'm saying, and changes. All you did was join in to the freaking, the annual freaking year to vote in the election year to vote in a new commander in chief. You know what I'm saying? And that's all it was, to take advantage. It's almost like political clout chasing. You just jumped in there to bring in this new freaking pay-per-view scale of 1995, and the first place you're gonna do it is in the UK. But yet, if the two names come up, two of the biggest names people want to see come up, and the pay-per-view isn't 1995 like Joshua Dubois, they full of shit, bro. That's when you should drop the criticism on Turkey Alley Sheik. If you want to talk about money, that's when you should drop the criticism on Turkey Alley Sheik. If he comes up with a big fight to that magnitude, and you don't come in with a 1995 pay-per-view, and that fight's in Vegas, it's FOS, y'all. It's full of shit. Don't say I ain't tell you. They full of shit, man. And the wild part about it, you shouldn't stay long. You shouldn't stay mad too long, because when it comes to boxing, there's always ample space. Fuck a B&B, Airbnb. It's always ample landscape and air and opportunity to be disappointed. That's what boxing does. That's what the puppet masters do. He better goddamn have that 1995 on a fight over here in the U.S. and better not come here. Well, we went and we talked, and based off the Joshua Dubois over here in the U.S., this is our first fight. We're gonna bring it in at around $70. No. We don't want to hear that shit, yo. You say you're trying to change the entire pay-per-view scale, so why not do it with one of the biggest fights in a long time? We couldn't do it Spence Crawford, but I'm talking about under this new pay-per-view model. The fight to do it would be Crawford Canelo if that happened. There's no other bigger fight in here unless you're gonna do it with Tank. Okay? And Tank has to be in there in the ring with somebody, somebody we want to see, like if it's Shakur Stevenson, if Teofimo, it ain't gonna be Teo because he ain't coming up to 140, but somebody with a name. It has to be two names in that ring. Not just the names that's on the box rec, but two names when it comes to the popularity, the boxing FICO, the notoriety in boxing that we want to see, the ranking systems, the pound for pound list. We have to see Turkey Alley Sheik bring in 1995 in Vegas. I'm not going to be convinced until he do it in Vegas, bro. We don't want no Rudy Poot freaking, 6 fights on the card, barely know any of the fighters on there. And then people just happy. Oh man, he's introducing a $20 freaking pay-per-view. I love it. Goddamn. I'm about to go out there and brush that mare off right quick and take it for a ride down the goddamn pasture. I love this 1995. I get to buy more feed. Don't believe it, yo. Don't believe it. But let me take you to this other right quick. Let me I don't know why, Ben, you always come in here talking about stop it. Like, saying stop what? Every time you come here, you say something like stop it. Like, stop what? I don't get it. So I wanna read off this article from Boxing News right quick. It says Joshua versus Dubois, a fight with a budget friendly pay-per-view price for US fans. See once again, if you read in between the lines, right? And one thing we understand is that the Brits speak English just like us Americans, right? But check this out. The US has been released for Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. Clash September 21st at Wembley Stadium in London. This will be a affordable pay-per-view for US fans. Why are they putting that off on us? Look, both of these fighters are the US fighters. Yeah, we already know Joshua where he came from. But But why are they putting this off on US fans? Now I'm getting the feeling like they believe that we're clowns. You know what I'm saying? We're not as smart in this boxing business or arena than they believe, because it only takes some logical troubleshooting. It doesn't take anything that's intensive. You don't have to have a savant type level of thinking in this reading shit. Why are they selling this fight to us, to US fans, when this has been going on in the UK forever and a day? It says it'll be selling for $19.99 on pay-per-view, which is an excellent price compared to events that are sold nowadays. Compared that to the Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga event, which sells for $89.99 for their clash on September 14th. The official promotion video for Joshua vs. Dubois, the Riyadh season event, has been released for the September 21st event. It says the music seems slanted towards the British fans, with Neil Diamond singing his hit from 1969, Sweet Caroline. Okay, that's one of the parts I wanted to get to. Is that our theme song? Sweet Caroline? Do you hear us over here in the US singing Sweet Caroline, and the ticket prices is high as shit, and the pay-per-view is $90? Are we singing Sweet Caroline together? No. The UK fans still love the 55-year-old hit. They already talking about the 55-year-old hit. Ain't nobody talking about no goddamn Neil Diamond. Respect to Neil Diamond. We ain't talking about. It say Joshua could have many problems facing the rejuvenated and inspired IBF heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois in the headliner of this fight. The style that Dubois brings into this fight is all wrong for Joshua, who prefers to fight at a slow pace, allowing him to set up his right hand power shots. It said the story unfolds. This is Turkey Al Sheikh on X. The story unfolds where every fighter emerges from the depths ready to claim the moment. Anthony Joshua takes on Dubois in an epic fight at Riyadh season card Wembley edition. I would play this, but I don't want to get copywritten. You know what I'm saying? But y'all sure to go over to X and check this out. Okay? One of my sticking points that I want to get across to you all was that when I read this article, I immediately said to myself, they're trying to sell it to us like this is a swap meet or something. Farmer's market. They're trying to sell us a fight that's going on in the UK with two non-American fighters. You know what I'm saying? And they're trying to sell it to us because in comparison, they're trying to say, look, your biggest fighter, Canelo Alvarez, has a pay-per-view for $89. It's been that way. Look what we're doing over here. We're bringing you AJ and Daniel Dubois instead of Canelo and Edgar Berlanga. Look, it's only $19.95. Man, get the fuck out of here. Y'all ain't fooling nobody. AJ's kryptonite is a fast-paced fight, and Dubois specializes in that. He doesn't allow his opponents to rest their breath. So they're talking about all the little ins and outs of their, their overall observation in how Daniel Dubois has fought and how he may potentially go in here and fight Joshua. Joshua struggles when forced to fight quickly, work hard, and not be given time to load up. In the 2012 London Olympics, Italy's Roberto Camarelli got the better of Joshua, throwing combinations, wearing him down, and forced him to hold. And I tell people all the time that Joshua, he didn't win that gold medal round in the London Olympics, but that's neither here nor there. It talks about the undercard. Look at this undercard right here. That's a 1995 undercard, huh? I'm just saying, is it 1995 or 25.25 or $30.10? That's pretty decent? You got Shiraz on there and Tyler Denny. You got, Kasasi, Kakis, I believe that's his name, Anthony Kakis, against Josh Warrington. Buasi against Hutchinson. Smith against Kelly. I mean, it's like a $30 and 60 cent freaking pay per view. You know what I'm saying? Undercard right there. You know, for those of y'all just looking to support, across the pond. But I'm saying it just seems like they plan. When it comes to the media, they deceiving us, trying to pretend like this benefits us. That don't benefit us unless it's in Vegas or New York. It does nothing for us. Real talk. It's almost like, hey, we're gonna pimp them from afar. No one on the undercard is going anywhere other than perhaps Shiraz, but he's pretty flawed too. They're criticizing the undercard, but this article in itself, and how they're trying to portray it, they're projecting that we're going to have some benefit in seeing Joshua fight in Wembley for 1995. Man, come on, bro. I like this. It say, if it were me, I'll take a big broom, sweep it away 4 domestic level straps from the card, and add a couple quality fights that would interest the U.S. market. That's what I liked about this article. Another point too, involving genuine world class guys. They're trying to sell this entire fight to the U.S. just off a price point, but yet the opposition is what discourages U.S. boxing fans all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're gonna stick a $89 ticket, then they want the freaking UC to be something super special. That's what they want. That's what we want. The UC to be super special. It said it would have been a nice gesture to add some talented U.S. fighters like Abdullah Mason, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Jerron Ennis to the card to get American fans amped up. British domestic level fighters are attractive if the card is limited to one fight, but not when the entire undercard is filled with those fights. I like how he closed it down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? The art Charles Brunn, if that's even his name. But I like how he closed it down. He made a lot of sense. It would have been great to have some US talent on that card. Shout out to Mark Nash in the building. Mark Nash TV on deck. JD on deck. What's good? Um yeah, I'm just looking at, when I go to these articles or whatever, I'm just saying to myself, like, that just further shows you that the US, boxing footprint is kind of struggling still, because we have a foreign entity that has a huge influence, and they're able to basically make modifications that wasn't able to be made before. When you're in a complacency, like, it's not being brainwashed, so to speak, in this case, but we have become acclimated and complacent in watching boxing play out the same way all the time. It's just like being in a very abusive domestic abuse relationship, a dysfunctional, toxic relationship that you have with the sport. You know what I'm saying? You get so used to seeing the abuse all the fucking time. You don't you kind of basically, your point of declivity in the seriousness of how the damage is played out, you kind of start to accept it, and we start to accept the big fights not being made over here. We start to accept it. Oh man, if we can have any indication that we want to talk about, we will sit up here and be so complacent as hell, right? The talk about a fight playing out. And once again, we're not a part of a team. We're not a part of mainstream media. Even though people do take our content and they use it, we're not a part of making the fight happen at any given time. We're not paying for their lodging, their flights. They're not paying for their purses. You're not paying for anything. But pro bono, we'll get out here and talk a fight up as if it's going to happen. And then when it comes to a point where you find out that fighter you've been talking about for the last 2 weeks is fighting somebody else, then you say, damn, I took all that damage for nothing. Let me go ahead and talk about this fight now. That's what we used to. We very much used to that shit. You know what I'm saying? We have been conditioned in the worst way to be disappointed with US boxing. Now we have someone from the outside that have a much larger reservoir resources for us. Their budget is different. And also with that budget, now boxing becomes a business again. Now you got these promoters over here affiliating and associating themselves with the money. Why? Because who gets their money right off the bat? The promoters. The promoters. They're still gonna basically operate off a skeleton schedule, but they're on deck for some of their fighters. A lot of their fighters, or whoever, however they're gonna make it, is going over there making that money with Al Sheik, where they still get paid. So they'll do business with somebody who has the funding because they're still going to get paid. But this time they don't have to really take the lead on it. It's going to be underneath his banner. Turkey Al Sheik is going to be on the Riyadh season. They're going to be the one that's running it. So for all of you that's up here complaining about Turkey Al Sheik and his presence, understand this. If you really have an influence in boxing, right, and you got a problem with what he's doing, your influence should scan out enough. It should be bright enough for you to stop it. You know, you should be able to impede Turkey's Al Sheik movement over here, his goddamn motion, so to speak, over here in the U.S. You don't have it. Just like Kanye said to Sway, you ain't got the answers. You might have the answers later on, depending on how this whole shit play out. But right now, you don't have the movement, you don't have the traction. You can't stop him. He ain't really ruining anything. I mean, just think about it. Somebody is able to relieve you of some stress. You know, especially if you're working at a job all this long time for decades, and you've been experiencing the same stress levels at a certain point during the week. Wouldn't it be good that Friday is a little bit less stressful, being that a big fight card is coming on, and you know you'll be able to afford the motherfucking pay-per-view cost, instead of saying, oh man, I don't know, hey man, y'all want to do a fight party, man, but it ain't gonna be free. Y'all have to put in $10, man. But it's 30 of us. Yeah, you know, we're gonna have some food. We're gonna get some goddamn Papa John's pizza. And you know, you bring your own drink, BYOB. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring your own bottle, and we're gonna watch this fight. But $10 a head, $10 a head, goddamn it, $10 a head. Stop being cheap. $10 a head. Don't cry so much, man. On shit you can't change, goddamn it. Turkey Al Sheik is in the building, y'all. Until next time, salute to the hottest chat in the MF and game. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. This event will be a clear indicator of how big of a world draw AJ actually is. What you mean by that? What you mean? What you mean? Because it's people that's been able to access an app. You know what I'm saying? It's boxing fans has been able to access the DAZN app. So therefore, if it's been pay-per-views, we've able to access the app per a subscriber or pay the freaking pay-per-view. A world draw, I'm not understanding. Like AJ has been over here one grand time. You know what I'm saying? In New York City. If he wanted to be a global draw there, JD, he would have brought his black ass back over here again and fought somewhere in the United States of the A. You know what I'm saying? But he went over here one time in New York, got blasted, and he went over there to the sandbox. Thank you, Turkey Al Sheik. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is he overweight like we said? Oh, he is? Is there any way I can see him? How many more pounds he weigh this time? 40? 47 pounds over? Oh, right. 47 pounds higher than what he... Oh, great. Let me go over here. Matter of fact, while I'm talking, let me be nosy. Let me be nosy, shawty. Okay. Andy Ruiz fought Anthony Joshua at 268 the first time, and he fought him in freaking Saudi at 283 and a half now. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hey, look. Let me tell you how much bullshit that was. And I'm just talking boxing, JD. Look, Joshua, the first time he fought Andy Ruiz, he was 247 and 3/4. He came in there 237. 230. 230. 237 to the weight increase of Andy Ruiz, 283 and a half, shawty. What? Joshua, man, come on now. Come on, man. Anybody can see this shit. Anybody can see it, bro. But shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.